you have to say to people who are afraid, or who represent people who are afraid? We are all afraid. Okay? That's what I've stated. But we are, we're in a time and a place where I don't know. I certainly have not. I have not been here before. And I'll tell you, I'm oftentimes very anxious myself about using my voice, because retaliation is real, and that's not right.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and a video of Senator Lisa Murkowski has gone viral. In it, she's holding back tears, telling a room full of constituents that she's afraid to speak out against Donald Trump because retaliation is real.
But that's what you've asked me to do. And so I'm going to use my voice to the best of my ability. And sometimes it will be viewed in a way that, well, that's pretty confrontational. And other times it's going to be using my mother's charm that I learned as a young girl, and in direct communication with those that I have made relationships with, and am able to affect some change that way. But I've got to figure out how I can do my best to help the many who are so anxious and are so afraid.
Now look, this isn't about mocking someone for showing emotion. It's about asking a serious question. What the hell happened to the backbone of the Republican Party? Just a few years ago, these same politicians were calling Trump a threat to democracy, a con man, a danger to the republic. They weren't just skeptical. They were scorched earth against him.
But I think a campaign bears responsibility for creating an environment when the candidate urges supporters to engage in physical violence, to punch people in the face. The predictable consequence of that is that it escalates.
When someone is seeking a position of leadership and is already in a position of influence, you speak responsibly. This notion that a president can just say anything they want, or even a presidential candidate can say anything they want, whatever comes to mind, it's just not true, and it's reckless and it's dangerous. If we reach a point in this country where we can't have a debate about politics without it getting to levels of violence and anger where people think that just because you're angry, you can say and almost do anything you want, we're going to lose our republic.
Now they're silent, groveling, bootlicking. The courage they once had, gone. The truth they once spoke, forgotten. So when Lisa Murkowski says she's scared of what might happen if she speaks out again, I have to tell you a little bit about my story, because I felt real retaliation. I know what it means to stand up and face the consequences. And I'll be damned if we're going to let cowardice be the new standard for leadership in this country. So let me tell you a little bit about what happened to me. We hear a lot these days about retaliation. Maybe a phone call, a nasty post online, someone yelling at a town hall, but I've experienced real retaliation. I've felt the violence up close. When I was running for state senate in West Virginia, a guy that I had known since childhood asked me for a bumper sticker. So I turned my back to grab one, walked over to his truck to slap it on, and that's when he cracked me in the back of the head with a steel pipe. He knocked me out cold, then flipped me over and hit me with brass knuckles, breaking 8 bones in my face. Someone knew that if I didn't die on that creek bank in southern West Virginia, I would be the next state senator. I woke up in a hospital bed, and just a day or so later, I would win my seat while undergoing facial reconstruction surgery, where 57 metal plates were installed to hold my face together. What happened to me was extreme, and it has no place in American politics, but here we are. I'm not telling Lisa Murkowski to go throw hands with anyone, but what I'm saying is that she shouldn't sound like such a defeatist. When someone like Lisa Murkowski says she's too afraid to speak out because of what might happen, all I can say is maybe you need to find another job. And look, I get it. We can try to bring some empathy to what she's saying, Maybe she's really scared. But what we don't need right now are elected officials who crumble the second a MAGA troll barks at them. We don't need political violence in any form, especially when Trump's got loyalists out here playing dress up like some private militia. We need leaders with the guts to look that evil right in the face and shout at the damn devil. Because if you can't take a few dissenting voices, how the hell are you going to fight for the people who sent you there? The working folks who get trampled every day in this country. They don't get to make excuses, so neither should you. And let's not pretend that Republicans don't know who Trump is. They've said it themselves, a threat, a bigot, a con man, but they sold out, traded their spines for clout, campaign cash, and Mar-a-Lago golf passes. So let me say this, and I mean it. Never walk past something that you know is wrong and fail to make comment. For if you do, you have now accepted a new lower standard. That's the line in the sand. You either cross it or you hold it. So tell me, Lisa, is standing up for seniors on Social Security too much to ask? Is standing up for veterans who've lost their jobs, who are scared to death they're about to lose their benefits, too much to ask? Is protecting free speech and not just the kind approved by your party too much to ask? Is fighting for women's health care, for the right to make decisions about their own bodies, too much to ask? Is protecting abortion access, defending human dignity, respecting bodily autonomy, is that too much to ask? Are you really too afraid to ask those questions? Because if you are, how can you expect us to support you? I'm not saying that you need to listen to me, but you should listen to those constituents that you're representing. These people that you represent don't have the luxury of fear. They're out here living paycheck to paycheck, working 2 jobs, hoping their insulin doesn't get cut off or their VA doctor doesn't vanish in another budget slash. They don't get to stand on a stage and cry about retaliation. They need a fighter, not a footnote. So no, it's not too much to ask. It's the bare minimum. And at some point, the excuses run out. We're watching elected officials break down on stage, terrified to speak out against a man they once warned us about. And yet, while they cry into microphones, the American people are the ones bearing the weight of this collapse. They're watching their benefits vanish, their rights get stripped, their futures stolen. And meanwhile, Trump's GOP is threatening war with Greenland, talking about sending troops to Panama, gutting climate protection, and torching what's left of the American promise with full party support. Lisa Murkowski said she's afraid. Well, so are the rest of us. We're afraid of losing our savings, our health care, our country. But we're out here fighting anyway. If you can't stand the heat, get your ass the hell out of the kitchen. Because this isn't politics as usual anymore. It's an inferno. And the public, they're pissed. They're rising. Hands-off rallies in all 50 states. Town halls packed. Streets full. People have had enough. The fact is that the Republican Party once told us the truth about Trump. They called him a bigot, a threat, a fraud, a danger to the Republic. Now they're silent, or worse, cheering him on. They didn't change their minds, they changed their priorities. Because speaking out might cost them their re-election campaigns. But what's a re-election campaign worth in a country that's falling apart? If you want to know what happens when violence, fear, and rage define politics, don't take it from me, take it from Marco Rubio before he folded and became one of the biggest bootlickers. If we reach a point in this country where we can't have a debate about politics without it getting to levels of violence and anger, where people think just because you're angry, you can say and almost do anything that you want, we're going to lose our republic. He said it. They all said it. They knew. Trump is a wrecking ball that's not working for the American people. Now the knife has turned. The blade is coming back around, and karma has a long memory. This is the line in the sand. You either cross that line or you hold it. No excuses. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.